This is a special edition of WeatherScope, comprehensive severe weather coverage from the Weather Channel.
Tropical storm Josephine ready to make landfall in the Big Bend area of Florida, causing some major tidal flooding problems, rivaling that of the great storm of the century back in March of 1993. Good evening, I'm Gene Rubin. Thanks for watching us here on the Weather Channel. The latest coordinates just received here at the Weather Channel, and this is what they look like as of 11 o'clock Eastern Daylight Time. There they are, the newest coordinates, 29.9 north, 84.0 west. That places it just 25 miles south of St. Marks, Florida. That would be in Jefferson County. Winds at 65 miles an hour. It's decreased in strength just a bit. It's also accelerating, moving northeast at 22 miles an hour, and the pressure is holding steady at 983 millibars. So some changes, some slight changes in the system. Right now we're going to go live to Bill Keneally in Cross City in Florida. He's pulled back from the beach hours ago, back from Horseshoe Beach. He's safely inland, and he has some dramatic video to show us, don't you, Bill?
That is correct, Gene. I want to show you a video shot about 9 o'clock tonight. Now remember, as you look at these pictures, that high tide is at midnight tonight. So these pictures were shot 3 hours prior to the arrival of high tide. Very strong southwest winds kicking into the area. Now you can see why there was a mandatory evacuation ordered here in Dixie County for anybody within 10 miles of the coastline. Now, Gene, these pictures are about 15 miles southwest of where we are. They are in the town of Horseshoe Beach. And note how fast the water is moving. Note also the debris in the water running into these pilings. A lot of the houses down here are on stilts, as they should be, but that water is coming up very fast. We were down there, by the way, about 3 o'clock this afternoon. At that time we had east wind, offshore flow, and there was not any water any higher than a normal tide down there. But these pictures are showing water that was running about 4 to 5 feet above high tide, and that water was still on the rise at the time, coming up at a fast rate. And as you said, by the time midnight arrives, we may be looking at a tide rivaling what happened back in March of 1993, maybe upwards of 8 or 9 feet above flood stage.
Yes, even though that the center of the circulation, whatever center there is of Josephine, is just about ready to go on shore around St. Marks, there's still going to be some, like you say, additional flooding problems. Just because the center goes over land doesn't mean that the tidal flooding would automatically stop. High tide's going to be occurring around 12 or 1 o'clock.
That is right, Gene. It's been a rather quirky system. Tropical storm Josephine had east winds much of the day, and it was a pretty tight circulation, so it took a while for that wind to veer quickly around to the southwest. It waited much of the afternoon, then it just quickly turned about 7 o'clock tonight, and at that time the water started rising, and we've seen that water rise probably 1 to 2 feet per hour. And it looks as though not only in Horseshoe Beach, but there's another town here in Dixie County, and that is the town of Sewanee, about 10 miles south of here. They're reporting some pretty serious flooding as well. Even the firehouse in town is now taking on water.
Yeah, we were looking at the latest radar picture. Looks like most of the rain is sort of going to be out of your area. It's well north of you right now. Also, another band of very heavy convection, we'll show you that in a moment, coming into the Tampa area. Winds gusting in Tampa still around 40 to 45 miles an hour, even a thunderstorm gust of over 50 miles an hour in the Tampa-St. Pete area during the last hour. So Tampa's not out of the woods either yet.
Gene, right now we're not getting much in the way of rain. Very little, if any, rain, as you said, but we are getting some very gusty winds. The winds are out of the southwest, and at times are now gusting 50 to 55 miles per hour. Now we are seeing some lightning off to our east, so some of those cells that are just rocketing off to the northeast are in evidence, but they are passing well to our east over by I-75.
Okay, Bill, I thank you very much. We'll be joining you again in about 30 minutes. You keep us updated, and stay safe in Cross City.
Will do.
And we're going to now show you some other information that we just received here. The hurricane warning has been canceled because it's very close to moving inland. The winds have decreased, but still tropical storm warnings are in effect, not only along the north or the west coast of Florida from Apalachicola to Venice, but also along the east central and coast of Florida, northeast coast, coast of Georgia, including St. Simon's Island, Brunswick, Savannah, up to Charleston, all the way as far north as the Little River Inlet. This means that winds between 39 and 74 miles an hour could be felt in these areas within the next, let's say, 18 to 24 hours or so. As we look at the storm surge potential, still storm surge of 6 to 9 feet expected as it's now making landfall, but the worst is not over yet. Remember, high tides coming around, let's say around 1 o'clock or 1:30 in the morning. And we're going to show you the satellite picture in just a moment, showing you how dramatically everything is moving off to the northeast just very quickly, and it should start moving up the east coast as we go through tomorrow, approaching New England. As we look at the system now, we'll put it into motion. You can see how rapidly it's moving off towards the northeast right now. The heaviest convection that's showing up in the bright white has now moved over South Georgia, extreme North Florida. But look at here to the south and southwest, a band of heavy convection moving off towards Fort Myers and off towards the Tampa area, and that could produce additional strong to severe thunderstorms, maybe even the potential of tornadoes. We're going to colorize this picture here and show you where we think the center of Tropical Storm Josephine is at this time. The best estimate is right here, just about ready to move inland around the St. Marks area in southern Jefferson County. Tallahassee would be located right about here, so it's going to move to the east of Tallahassee, probably move across southeastern corner of Georgia by tomorrow morning, and then move rapidly up the east coast. And it could be moving up towards New York and Long Island as an extratropical system. More about that as we go to the studio in a few moments. There is a tornado watch out until 8 o'clock tomorrow morning because landfalling tropical systems usually do produce tornadoes. There have been numerous tornado warnings out earlier today around Naples, Duval County, Volusia County, along the northeast and west central coast of Florida. You can see by the radar a very abrupt end to the rain right now. You can see it moving inland. There's no more rain back out over the Gulf. It's sort of amazing how quickly that rain band has just ended. But again, look to the east here. We see a band of some very heavy showers and thunder showers moving off in an easterly direction. And this band could produce some tornadoes and severe weather. Here's Atlanta, Georgia, well north of the northern edge of the rain band. Everything is moving in a northeasterly direction at this time. So we'll keep tracking the storm as it moves along the northeast. And coming up in a few moments, we'll go back to the studio with Christina. She'll tell us where the storm is going, how it could impact New York and Boston in a few days. Also an update on the heat wave in the west. Christina?
Thanks a lot, Gene. Well, here's what's going on out there right now. Of course, Gene showed you what's going on here in Florida and southern Georgia with Tropical Storm Josephine. To the north, we've got a good bit of wet weather into the Carolinas, too, and that's going to continue on into tomorrow. We also have some scattered action behind a frontal boundary from Texas on into Oklahoma, northeastward to Michigan. In the west, though, high pressure in control, and that's keeping things nice and quiet here. Very tranquil weather, quite a contrast to what's being experienced in the Gulf Coast. All we see here is a little bit of yellow on our map, indicating where we are experiencing some foggy conditions here along the southern California coast. Well, look out, because certainly some wet weather here in the southeast. The flooding potential is quite real here from Florida on towards the mid-Atlantic states, and we have a good bit of wet weather covering much of North Carolina, much of South Carolina, and much of Georgia, including Macon over towards Augusta, then into Columbia, South Carolina, and Myrtle Beach. Raleigh and Durham both getting wet right